What's up, Dr. Z? Yeah, it's a little late here, but I'm doing a presentation that's going to cover basically climate change in Vietnam. I'm going to go over what's going on over there in Vietnam, and kind of some of the solutions we can have and take to prevent what's been going on and kind of control what's been going on. So yeah, climate change in Vietnam. So my presentation, I started off with a just a quick definition of climate change. I'll actually read it. So climate change, as defined, is a change in global or regional patterns. In particular, a change apparent from the mid to late 20th century onwards and attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. As so, next I have just a quick overview of Vietnam, just the country itself. So Vietnam is a country, obviously in Southeast Asia. Not too big, only 92.7 million people reside in Vietnam. But the culture is pretty complex, and it's just an adaptation of the Chinese influences, Japanese, French, and even American as well. But traditional Vietnamese culture revolves around the core values of humanity, community, harmony, and family. Yeah, so that's just a quick little background on Vietnam. So now getting into climate change and how that affects Vietnam. We'll start. In 2016, Vietnam, they've had 24 cold spells. So during these cold spells, 40 sites in Vietnam were reported with snow. Snow is not too common in Vietnam, and it hasn't been common in over 100 years in many places. So on January 21st of 2016, the lowest temperature was recorded in almost 40 years in Vietnam. So I found that to be pretty interesting. And increased amounts of typhoons, droughts, downpours, and all that type of stuff that has to deal with water. That just devastated many homes and fields throughout the country. And from October to December, heavy rains caused severe floods in the central region of the country. Obviously that affects transportation, crops, livestock, things of that nature. All get affected from that. So just getting into more climate change in Vietnam. Farmers, they were disturbed by the salinity and the lack of fresh water for daily life and production during the extreme dry season, and that can be, pretty scary. Not having enough fresh water, that's obviously a pretty big problem. Not having enough just to get by to live is obviously not good. So the dry season of 2016 numbers, just a little bit. So places in the south and central regions suffered from a drought due to drop in rainfall by 30 to 40%. So drought was, pretty common theme across the country. And during the rain season, floods and downpours lasted longer than usual, and this caused damage to crops, property, and people. Like I said, transportation in Vietnam isn't too advanced, and it's just flooding in Vietnam is a problem. As the cities don't drain well, floods do continue to pile up, and with continued rain, doesn't help. So I just kind of looked at the biggest takeaway. I will send this presentation to you so you can read it because it is kind of backwards on the screen. But my biggest thing I kind of took away from this entire thing is that extended periods of rain and drought are truly uncontrollable, and they have caused great damage to crops and property, and have pretty much caused the community great harm over the last 2 years or so. This has kind of been going on. So I came up with a few solutions because just kind of take some steps to get us proactive in kind of helping this out. So I'll start off with protecting and elevating banks across the nation. This would help with flooding and all that type of stuff. Implement soil protection. Provide crop irrigation.